Welcome back to the news today. Donald Trump is under fire again. The Republican presidential frontrunner has drawn widespread criticism for mocking a New York Times reporter and appearing to imitate his disability. Here in Israel, parliamentarian from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's party is also in hot water after a similar incident. I-24 News correspondent Shani Nachshoni has the details.
Donald Trump has done it again. The Republican presidential frontrunner spoke in a rally in South Carolina on Tuesday night and mocked a New York Times reporter, Serge Kovaleski.
You got to see this guy. Oh, I don't know what I said. I don't remember.
Kovaleski has a chronic condition called arthrogryposis, which affects the movement of his arms. Trump did an impression of Serge Kovaleski while using an article that he wrote in 2001 to defend his own comments from the past few weeks, asserting that members of the Muslim communities in New Jersey celebrated the 9/11 attacks.
Right after, sort of an amazing thing, right after a couple of good paragraphs, and it's talking about northern New Jersey, draws the prober's eye.
The reporter has said he does not recall anyone saying there were thousands or even hundreds of people celebrating. As a matter of fact, the original article published in the Washington Post said there were a number of people who were detained and questioned. The New York Times called Trump's action outrageous. Donald Trump's campaign has not officially commented, but the tycoon has taken to Twitter to attack the New York Times. In Israel, Oren Chazan, a legislator from the governing Likud party, attacked Karin El-Harar, a handicapped opposition lawmaker of the Yesh Atid party. During a vote on the state budget, she could not vote by herself and was assisted by another MP. When Chazan noticed that, he accused the second MP of illegally double voting, an offense his own father was accused of in the year 2006 when he was in parliament. Chazan was roundly criticized for his actions, but continued to taunt El-Harar. And later, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu addressed the subject in a statement to the media.
A member of parliament from my party said an awful thing to Member of Parliament Karin El-Harar, something he should not have said, and I condemn it severely.
Yes, and with me to discuss the political Israeli issues of this week is Dr. Hani Zubaydah, political science at the Israel Valley Academic College. Good evening.
Good evening.
Stop laughing. Eli Yochenberg, diplomatic correspondent for the news today. Good evening.
Good
Stop
evening.
laughing, you too.
I can. Okay.
What is wrong with you?
No, because when Benjamin Netanyahu said a member of my party said something wrong, I thought he would say that he said the Arabs are running in droves with buses to the polls, and that was the something wrong. But then I remember that he said that.
No, it's
Here
not
you had
that.
a political gain from this statement.
No,
and
it's
in
not
Chazan's,
that.
statement,
So
there's
if there's
nothing.
a gain, if there's a political gain from
It's
this statement,
fair.
it's
No,
legit.
you know, and I'm being very cynical right now, so people won't hold it on me. But saying it about Arabs,
It's not a bad thing.
It's not a bad
Yeah.
thing. It's okay. So let's talk about more issues that were happening this week in Israeli parliament. Hot issues.
Yes, so maybe the biggest uproar of recent weeks was the story of Inon Magal, and don't be surprised that if you don't know this name, our viewers, he's a relatively new parliamentarian from the Jewish Home Hawkish party led by Naftali Bennett. He's not an Orthodox member of this party. He's supposed to represent the secular community in this party as part of its attempt to become a more general party, not a sectarian one. And before he became a parliament member, he was the head of one of the biggest Israeli news websites in Israel, Walla website, and there starts the problem.
Well, allegedly. We should say that, and it's important to say allegedly. Allegedly, Inon Magal sexually harassed multiple partners at work from the opposite sex. One of them wrote a Facebook statement that said, well, there's one other thing to be said. He's not relatively new. He is the rising star of the Israeli politics.
Yes.
Extremely popular, and he's the head of the
chair of the party.
the chair of the party. I'm sorry, the chair of the party in the Knesset. She wrote about him things that he said and done to her while he was the chief editor of the Walla website. And then immediately another woman stepped forward.
But before that, he actually...
But then after the second woman stepped forward, he came out with a statement saying he apologizes for what he did, and if he knew that he would become a parliament member, he would not have done that.
No,
and
but
that
before
he
that...
expects things that were said in between friends to keep it that way, and he would expect
But
her
they
to
weren't
approach
friends.
him and tell him that, and not publicly shame him on
But they weren't
Facebook.
friends.
They weren't friends. He was her boss.
Let's try to understand what is the stand of Naftali Bennett, the head of the Jewish Party, the education minister, on
Israel.
this.
It's a
yes,
huge
of Israel.
blow for him. A
Yeah,
huge blow.
the thing he did is he summoned immediately ינון Magal to his house for a personal meeting, one-on-one. And at that meeting, we have various comments coming from that meeting. One of the things that was said during that meeting, according to various sources, which cannot be identified at this moment, ינון Magal was begging for his life. He said, please do not remove me from the parliament. Why? Because removing me from the parliament at this stage will look as if I am guilty. Nonetheless, Naftali Bennett arguably said back to him, but you apologized, meaning that you said you did that. You did not deny doing it, even if you thought it was between friends. At the middle ground, he's going to be fired from being the chair of the party, the Jewish Home Party. However, he's going to be sanctioned and he's going to be put on the corner.
But with that said, there's a criminal investigation
Today
launched
started.
On this issue. So if police will find him guilty, I assume that the ramifications for ינון Magal will be much harsher.
Of course, this story will continue develop, and we will bring more details about it. You want to speak about Oren Chazan, or you want to speak about
Naftali Bennett? Maybe we will stick to Naftali Bennett shortly.
Bennett, yes.
So the fence mending meeting between Obama and Netanyahu earlier this month in Washington was maybe very good for their relations between Israel and the United States, but not so good for Netanyahu's relations with his own coalition members. During this meeting, we all know that Netanyahu said that he's committed to the two-state solution, something most of his government members are not supporting, namely Naftali Bennett, again, the leader of the hawkish Jewish Home Party. And Bennett, in one of his interviews, said that he put a bullet in between...
No, not the interview. A very small meeting between him and core.
That was published in the radio, I'm sorry, right? That he put a bullet...
Avid core supporters of the Jewish Home. He said that the only way to bring back Netanyahu from his statement is because he stuck a bullet between his eyes. It was recorded.
And he actually threatened people not to say anything and not to take out anything from the meeting, because if something will get out, these meetings won't be held anymore.
Phones were taken away from people at the entrance to that meeting, apparently.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, but apparently you take one, you have another one in your sock or whatever. Two stupid mistakes by premier members of the Jewish Home Party. One of them, well, sexually harassing, not just stupid, but also criminal. The other one, unbelievably so. People do not understand that there is nothing private today anymore. As soon as you put someone else in the equation, everything's going to go public.
Especially when you're a public figure.
Of course, when you're head of a party and you aim at the premier. Naftali Bennett said, I will be the Israeli prime minister one of these days. When you aim from the premier and you say such a thing, it's so destructive for your chances. When you kind of like take this road of violence, which is not new to Naftali, but yet again, that's what he did. Yeah. And today he's trying to mend fences with Netanyahu, but
this animosity between these two figures is it's not something new. And I'm trying to think, what are the chances that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will give him any sort of stage, when each and every time Naftali Bennett is providing more and more problems to Benjamin Netanyahu in his own government?
Well, Bennett sees himself as a decent competitor to Netanyahu. So I think that in the Bennett state of mind, saying outrageous thing towards Netanyahu or about Netanyahu is not something that will threaten his position. But without a doubt, Netanyahu is not crazy about Bennett. We've seen that in the coalition discussions that were that Bennett practically. I don't know what happened there, but he took two main posts in the government, the education and the justice ministry, and Netanyahu.
Although Naftali Bennett was outspoken about the wife of Benjamin Netanyahu after the election and during the election.
The entire thing started when Naftali Bennett was in the chamber of Benjamin Netanyahu, and Sarah Netanyahu, Benjamin Netanyahu's wife, did not want him. However, Bennett has invested a lot of his own private money to make the Jewish home a large party. Now, today, what stands between these two men are the ambitions. Netanyahu wants to stay prime minister. Bennett wants to be prime minister. As it stands right now, Bibi will do everything in his power to allow him to do anything.
Can I say, and they lived happily ever after? No.
No, definitely not.
Thank you very much, both of you.